So we've done so much talking together in the last 6 months about ideas or insights and problems that could create an impact on sustainability. So I'm really excited to talk to Gian and Rolo about the creative ideas that they've done.
I'm also so curious about their journey to starting their own agency.
And being from Peru, in South America has sort of affected the innovation and creativity that they have.
Yeah, I think their innovation is so interesting because we talk about innovation feeling like these big techie ideas, but some of the ways that they've hacked sort of everyday products is a different way to look at innovation. So it'll be really cool to sort of dig into that.
Welcome to Curious Creatives. I'm Andrea Bistany.
I'm Amy Fortunato, and we are here today with Rolando Cordova and Gian Lanfranco, founders of L&C.
And our topic today is all around sustainability and how advertising, can really make a big impact. These guys have done and have great success in some projects in this area. But first, let's talk about L&C and how you founded the agency.
That's a great question. I think we started the agency. Well, we say L&C is the third year for L&C, but it's been 18 years in the making, right? Since we left our hometown Peru. So we started in Peru, and then we had a creative journey through Singapore, Amsterdam, Paris, New York, working for different agencies like independent, network agencies, great creative agencies, not so great creative agencies. I think that global experience at some point was like, we need to create our own culture, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we always have this kind of attitude, like it's positive, with a lot of naivety, we say, let's do something because, maybe we can do something really nice. So that's how we start.
I think it's a combination of naivety, experience, also knowing the right time. We were here in New York already like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, if we do it now or never, right? Like you get to a point where you're working for agencies and maybe you get, like a really good salary, you're comfortable. I think something we learned is to always be uncomfortable. We're comfortable in Singapore, then we moved to Amsterdam. We're comfortable in that. So it was like, let's start it. There's nothing to lose, compared to, we like to put ourselves in the position when we started in Peru. So it's almost like there's no pressure. Like we're from Peru, so we already came all the way here. So I think that combination, and also the moment, like we started it during COVID actually. So that really helped us. Our agency is auto-funded. We didn't have to invest on a huge office at the time and a lot of things. So it actually gain momentum out of creativity, but definitely was struggling. I would say the first month was a total struggle. You need to learn things that are not necessarily creative. You have to be a finance, getting insurances. It's
especially you have to have a lot of patience, because the good thing of, start, a journey, making a company is like, you start doing other things because our backgrounds are totally creative, from the creative side. Now you have to think differently. It's like, okay, you have a role as a creative, but also, as an owner of a company. So then you want to create a space where the people just want to do their best work, and collaborate and do something great. So.
Are you feeling now, so 3 years in, that you finally got to a place where you both are having more of a role in creativity versus all of the other agency stuff?
Definitely. Like I would say since last year already, like the first year was like total struggle. It's just me, Rolo, a couple of freelancers trying to get projects, and then obviously we started getting clients, So now we have a variety of clients, slowly building relationships. And I think because normally agencies are founded, obviously by a business person, right? You see all the successful ones that we all admire, and a creative and a strategist maybe, or a business person and a creative. Ours were too creative, right? So we were like, how do we get clients to know about us? Like we're not business people. We don't have clientele we could bring. So every project we did, especially starting with Dole, that was basically our funding client, had to be outstanding because we wanted clients to see it and be like, who did that? Who came up? What's that idea? And then it's sort of like our best new business element, or you say tool, became the actual work. So I think that sort of, it takes longer, but it helped us now be on a situation. We're still a small company. We're under 12 people for L&C. And we have creatives in South America, here in New York. It's a little bit of a mix, but we're really happy. We're growing and steady, I would say, and we don't need to make invoices anymore ourselves. So that's cool.
So we really admire your work, and that your work it has a purpose behind it. And I'm just curious, do you think that, having such global experience, right? Being born in Peru, working in Singapore, working in Amsterdam, having a global perspective helped sort of shape your ideas and your approach to maybe more sustainable advertising?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like as Giancarlo explained, like we work in different markets. So that, gave us the flexibility on think beyond just, advertising as a tool to communicate something, to do a campaign. So that flexibility allow us, also to think, beyond that, like, and that means purpose, do something sustainable, because we understood the brands, live, on a society, and they need like a brand voice, because nowadays also, the people want to know, what the brand stands for. It's not just, doing a piece of communication and that's it.
And I think that having that, we call it global sensibility when we talk to the clients, is that you could go a little further, as Rolo was saying, and not necessarily come up with a campaign, but create a product or an idea that is innovative. Opens the canvas. At the end, it's super simple. All the work we do, even though might seem complicated, it could be understood in Peru, in Singapore, in New York. So I think we try to go to that core, and obviously for purpose and sustainability, we push for that. We come from Peru. It's a beautiful country. There's a lot of things you see there with nature. Peru is actually valued by the nature. So like when we go there, you open the eyes, it's like, wow, you grew up on this. And then obviously you have a little bit of a perspective of also the impact of companies in places like Peru or South America, So I think it's really, for us, it's key to have, I think, a leg in Peru. We're always looking like South America. And also the other really important part is the client, because you could have a really great idea that is based on purpose and sustainability, but the company itself has to have the culture.
So for malnutrition facts, so how did that project start? Did the Dole client come to you with a brief, or we just have this great idea that we need to sell in?
No, it's a great example, I think, because we personally like that idea a lot. Yeah, obviously the client came with a brief, and we helped them strategically launch the 5 premises of Dole, and one of them obviously is the impact of food waste in the world. They're one of the biggest producers the biggest producer of fruits in the world. So they had to have a say against obviously food waste, so they came with a brief, really clear, really one-liner, best briefs, it's about this. I think that comes a little bit of our, I would say we like it because it's a really Peruvian or South American way of doing things. It's guerrilla, So basically it's like, where is the problem originated? We're like, people throw and waste the food on the trash cans, So that should be the media for the message. So it's a simple idea, but we turn the problem sort of where everything happens into the actual media.
Trash cans overflowing.
Trash.
It's a lot of trash.
It's shocking to realize how much food New Yorkers waste while so many New Yorkers are hungry.
3.9 million tons, that's absolutely crazy.
It's like more than 12% of New Yorkers as well, which is massive.
What have I been doing to help make sure that there's equity in the way that food is distributed?
People have no idea the help that this gives to a lot of people in need.
Muy importante para el uso de nosotros.
We're New Yorkers, and in these times, we really come together.
We noticed it worked because we did a test like the week before when we were like, before we were gonna shoot the content and everything. And we stuck one and like 10 people stopped in the trash in New York to read it.
Wow.
And normally in New York, you're like, trash, you run, right?
Yeah.
So that I think
like real-time validation.
yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Did that spur anything? Did that help influence anything of the continuation of the creative?
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously there was a PR push on that, on the idea itself, it's just like what the clever part of that is like client didn't really pay any media, because obviously what we did, we hijacked the trash cans.
Yeah.
But by the time that the New York sanitation wanted to take them out, it was already living on social, it was already on the news. And we did it strategically on September, that is food waste
Hunger Month.
So, and we also put them close to the United Nations too. So they were talking about it on the news. So it's also like being strategic where you land the idea. So we love that idea because it's, let's say, an idea of, you want to say low investment, but high impact. And for us, it's like the ideas we like in Peru, when we grew up, we had no TV ads for, millions of dollars. No, so you needed to sort of create ideas that were on different medias.
Yeah, and what is great, is when you create an asset that is simple and is kind of striking, even the clients say, okay, now we can take this idea, we can do it in London, maybe in Sao Paulo. So it's an asset that can travel. And I think, having this brief, because sometimes you think, oh, sustainable, it has to be something really big. And I think, that depends on the brief, but you can do something really specific.
So when you started the agency, did you approach it with a vision of who you wanted to be as an agency based on sort of the experiences you've had at previous agencies?
Yeah, absolutely. Like our vision, it didn't go exactly to what sort of work we're going to do exactly, but the vision was like, we need to do work that it's simple, still attractive, and can resonate in the world. Because like we have that really particular global view. And I think now, like with the media and with everything, you cannot just be a New York agency, you need to be a global agency, because everything you put outside is gonna be on Instagram, it's gonna be seen in, South America, it's gonna be seen in Europe. So like us, we always, it's like this agency is gonna envision our view, like simple work that touches emotions, but it's relevantly globally.
So tell us about your work with Inbev.
Yeah, that's actually something we're really proud. Basically, the idea, again, comes from the sustainable angle and how do we impact communities. And we did this, I won't say a campaign because it's actually an innovation, an idea, analog innovation that is great because now everyone thinks like innovation needs to be tech-driven, but you can actually do innovation analog. So we worked with AB Inbev out of Colombia to turn the beer bottles of Nativa, that is a local beer that is basically consumed by farmers, because we found that they didn't really have rain gauges. Like farming in Colombia is not as developed as in other countries, especially in all South America, but we knew that they drink beer. So what we did is we turned the beer into rain gauges.
In 2022, Colombian farmers lost 4.9 million acres of crops during rainy season, 23% of them being cassava, the main ingredient in AB InBev's Nativa beer. Each year, Nativa buys 1,648 tons of cassava from Colombian farmers, providing them with a steady income. To protect the region where our cassava grows from climate change, we decided to do something. Introducing Nativa Meter. We took the beer farmers know and love, and by analyzing the geometry of the bottle, we repurposed it as a rain gauge, a tool that accurately tracks daily precipitation, records rainfall patterns to better predict the unpredictable effects of climate change, and monitors groundwater levels to ensure crops don't die from overwatering. Something farmers can't see with the naked eye or learn from a weather app. With this information, farmers can protect their crops by opening drainage channels and plowing the soil to evaporate underground water. A WhatsApp number on the label helps farmers share daily rainfall totals with our team of agricultural experts, who can give further advice on crop management.
A través de esta botella, ellos pueden anticipar los cambios climáticos que tanto pueden afectar a sus cultivos.
La planificación es todo en la agricultura. Sin la información estamos totalmente ciegos.
By transforming the manufacturing and design of our bottles and using AB InBev's distribution channels, we brought a scalable and easy-to-use tool to the most remote farms in the region. A rain gauge in Colombia costs $18. By spending just 34 cents on a beer they already buy, farmers get the same technology to protect their crops and their income, which secures cassava production so we can continue making Nativa beer. Today, 280,000 acres of farmland in Colombia's Cordova region are protected by the Nativa Meter, with a goal of covering 50% of all farmland by 2025. By reimagining our bottle, we are reimagining a better future for Colombia's farmers.
So now they have the tools to, sort of prevent rain season. It was really, really cool because they're paying 18 cents of a dollar for the beer, and now they get a tool that in market is over $18. So it's actually really, really great second use and had a good impact in the community.
And definitely, when you see, the idea is not like, just not say, oh, let's do something good for the planet because it's good. It's actually kind of like a circle back, because they saw the opportunity of how we can help our farmers to produce more and guarantee, to have crops for the next, and keeping producing, you are taking care of your business, but also, about the people who care about you. So I think that is important, when you have an idea that can help, the people that provide you, the materials, and then as a brand, they coexist. And I think, that's how.
Again, this idea also, it's, again, long process too, similar to Piñatex. But it took more, innovation in the sense of we had to work with meteorologists of the universities of Colombia. So we had meteorologists to actually develop the bottle. The beer bottle worked exactly the same as a professional rain gauge. So that was sort of it took 6 months doing tests, So that sort of things are taken into consideration. And now that they're using it not only on Nativa, they're using on other local crop beers in South America, in Ecuador, in Peru, in Colombia. So you could see how a simple innovation that is basically analog is helping the farmers protect their crops. So that's nice.
I think that happens also because in South America, in that region is affected by El Niño. So it's the weather is even more unpredictable, and with that you can help, farmers to know better, because on the past they have, they know when rainy season starts, but as you see here in New York, sometimes it's cold, so it's a little bit of a change. So
we talked about your work and the impact it's made and your vision for creating work like that. So do you have a perspective on sort of the climate of advertising and if it's sort of failing our planet, and could we be doing more to create work that has more of a purpose and an impact?
Definitely, I think you can always do more, because I think if you see as advertising as a way to communicate something, I think, you can communicate with an ad, but also you can communicate with an idea, and I think it's necessary to do both. It's not now we have to do just purpose. People need to laugh, but also they need to think about the planet. The new generation, Gen Z, is always thinking about, what is this brand is doing for the planet? I want to see the process, who is behind,
And I could see that now I see a change. I could see more companies that are definitely much more focused on this. And again, in whatever you create, even if it's an ad, you could always go a little deeper, or at least, even if it's not on the agenda of the client to work on social responsibility and purpose, you could always present ideas that are and push the client a little bit to hey, we have this idea here. I think it's advertising is a great space to also be proactive, and I think being proactive with your clients, I think sometimes, have too much work and let's just, But I think being proactive is great because you can come with different angles, and maybe the client didn't see it, but maybe you see it as a company and you bring it. So I think that proactivity is really important in the space we all work.
There's so much innovation coming out of South America that is good for our planet. Why do you think that is?
I think because maybe in South America, you're more in connection with what's happening like, for example, we grew up in Peru and we had at least an uncle that was a farmer. Yeah. So you would, I don't think here you live in New York, you'll have an uncle that is a farmer, will be difficult, right? Maybe a lawyer or something, but you're in contact with a lot of parts of the world, that is great. Like being in Peru or being in Brazil, so you know about the sea. You know about the farms, about,
the
cows, rainforest, so I think being in contact with that part of nature, for us is critical, even if we live in New York, we go to Peru at least twice a year. And I think that all the ideas there, it's easier to think a solution when you see the problem next to you than when you sort of imagine a problem, I think that would be the difference.
When we think innovation, right, we think really high tech and advanced and virtual, but innovation can be reimagining a beer bottle to address a problem. I think like sometimes it helps for creatives to sort of, remove that need, that perspective to be like new and modern and the next big thing. Sometimes it's about going, kind of stripping it down, right? At Click, one of our principles is our hacker roots. And I think so many of your ideas embody that really nicely, like hacking a garbage bag, hacking a beer bottle to sort of transform the meaning of it. And I think that's just really beautiful.
I think it's also about culture, and I'm going to explain maybe this with food so you will understand better. I mean, as South American, everybody speaks about food, but the way that we see it, like you mentioned hacks and all like that, but if you're thinking in a taco, for instance, it's a really simple dish, it's just a tortilla with some things, but it's delicious and really striking. So, the way of thinking is like, okay, what do we have here? Oh, we just have this and me, that. Oh, we cannot afford that. Okay, so the way of thinking is like how you put those ingredients on a taco that is delicious and everybody will enjoy. And that's how, culturally, South American people think. It's like, okay, maybe I don't have the best budget for TV, maybe I don't have access to innovation, but what would the resources already have, or what I can do, and then it's like,
So you were talking earlier about your naivete of starting an agency. And I'm curious, how did that actually help? How did that lead to your success?
No, that's a great, I can say that Rolo can follow, but it's better to start something when you don't know what you have to go through, but also with optimism. I think we were always optimists. We talked to a lot of people before that opening, and we did it, I would say, the less traditional way. Like normally people open an agency with a backer that invests on the agency, most likely, or it's opened by a business person and a creative person. On our side, it was two creatives. So it's like, how hard could it be to get a client? Really hard.
Yeah, and I think naivety is great because, it deletes the overthinking that creates anxiety. And when you are in this kind of, anxious, it's like the creativity doesn't flow and you don't take risk.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to approach a situation and not pretend that you know everything about everything. And I think so often we feel this pressure to come in with such expertise, and that's not always the case, and that's okay. You can come in with more of a beginner mindset, open mind, wanting to learn, and just ask questions, ask for help, ask people who have been there before. And you're right, like a community is so important because I think together, ultimately we want to push the creative work and push the industry forward.
Best ideas are collective also. And I think the people like, this is my idea and I want my own credit. Like, you see the best work, there's like 20 copywriters. I think if you influence the work somehow, you should be credited.
What is a question that you ask yourself or you propose to your creative teams as they dive into the next project brief, the next, idea?
I would say what we normally do is like, first of all, when you end up something, it's like, I think you want to have like what do you think about the idea we just made? Like, what will you improve, or what you didn't like of the process, or what did you think could be better? It needs to be open and collective to, whoever thought the idea, the producer, if it's hopefully the director, the account person for the process.
I always try to ask myself and the people that work with us, not after the process or when we finish a project, but during the process, like I always come back to the simple question on what the people is gonna think about this idea. Something simple, because sometimes we get immersed in like the strategy, the media, how we're gonna spend this, rather than thinking, wait a minute, if somebody's gonna cross the street and will see that billboard, how he's gonna react to that, in simple terms. If I wanna put, the 200 brief of a strategy, I cannot put it in a billboard, on a TV commercial, and I think it's like keeping it simple is something like, it's a good question always to remind to do something like, it will be understandable and engaging for people. So that's my question.
Yeah, thank you both for coming and chatting with us. This was really inspiring.
Thank you for having us, for inviting us.